What's up, y'all? We back with another episode of Torch Talks. It's your host, Jakari C. Patterson, a junior education studies major, and we are here with...
My name is Equan Caleb James. I'm a sophomore educational studies major with a minor in Chinese studies with a pre-law track from Silver Spring, Maryland.
Today, we're talking about the future of belonging in education. So, Caleb, first question is, what does the future of belonging in education look like to you?
What does it look like to me? Future of belonging in education looks like to me where students can come to a classroom, they feel safe, they feel welcome, and they're ready to learn. And it's not just, I'm dumping information on you or regurgitating it back on the paper. It's actually picking something that that'll change your life or that can stay with you for a lifetime that you can also use to go and educate someone else. So that's what it looks like to me.
So knowing that you said dumping it in and then regurgitating, something that we spoke about earlier is this banking system that Paulo Freire talks about. So before we even get into the banking system, tell us a little bit about growing up, like how was education for you, K through 12, prior to coming to Morehouse, and then how did it change once you got to Morehouse?
So growing up, education, at first it was good. It was really good. I went to a elementary school. I didn't even say middle school. Went to this elementary school. It was predominantly like Black and Hispanic, and I did well. I excelled in that classroom and in that field. But when I made my transition to a different elementary school in the 4th grade, that's when I really got the same experience of other Black males here at the college. I had to have that chip on my shoulder kind of, and I was looked at under a microscope. When I got to that new elementary school, I was labeled as a kid with anger issues. I didn't know how to control my emotions. Whenever I would get in trouble, I would hear the most insane stuff. And I told you the story earlier, but I'll reshare it again. I got in trouble one time, and the teacher had called my mother. And my mom and my teacher were having a conversation about a disciplinary action or a disciplinary measure for whatever action I did. And the teacher expressed to my mom, was like, "Oh, do you want me to get the vice principal to talk to your son to scare him a little?" And so my vice principal at the time, he's a Black male. And so my mom heard this. Of course, her immediate action is, "Oh, I have to defend my kid." But when I was told this, I was like, wow, I'm really labeled and looked at like that. Like, I don't come from a home with a father figure in my life, or
Right.
I don't know how to control my behavior because I'm this Black kid that grew up in an unstable household. So my mom questioned her, and she was like, do you think my Black son needs a Black male in his life? Like, he doesn't have his Black father. She kept on reiterating the Blackness,
Right.
because she wanted the teacher to understand that my son isn't bad, or he doesn't have behavior issues. It's y'all are micromanaging and micro watching this kid. So any fault and mistake he makes, y'all immediately want to turn it up to 1,000. And so that happened. And ever since then, I kind of had this chip on my shoulder. Like, we talked about earlier, I had this chip on my shoulder of, I have to do well in these classes. Like, I have to come to the table bringing something. I have to be almost this token Black kid, because if I'm not, they're going to categorize me as a whole. That's a whole nother thing. A Black kid having to represent the whole diaspora. But when I took on this role, I experienced like my academic growth. I had something to, like, there was a chase, like,
Right.
because this happened, now I have to, be on my A game. I definitely was on my A game. Middle school, did very well, graduated, got promoted, had made honor roll. High school, same thing. Like, I was that token Black kid they always came for certain opportunities to promote their diversity. I had the 4.0s. I was the captain of the track team. So I had the accolades, but, once I got here to Morehouse College, you have something driving and pushing you, but it's all for the wrong reasons. And so when I made it to Morehouse, it's like, okay, now I'm in a situation where I don't have to almost be in this like fight or flight type of, not fight or flight, but this situation where I'm almost surviving. You know what I mean? To a certain degree, like I had this survivor mentality of, I gotta be strong. I gotta be hungry. I gotta go after it. I'm here, but why am I here? What's my motivation of being here?
Right.
And that took a minute of self-discovery. And you know, a bit of like my grandmother, she looked out, she put some money down so I could get here to this prestigious college. So I mean, you know, that was a motivating factor. But aside from that, what else pushes you? And so, you know, I learned my why, and I feel like I'm in my purpose now. But you know, it was a struggle. Definitely.
I definitely appreciate everything that you said, because you said something about like growing up and having to take on that role as a representation for the whole diaspora. And growing up in a predominantly white school, I definitely experienced that, because we had other black students, but they kind of, it's like a few black kids in the honors classes, and the way my school did it in ninth grade, they kind of separated us. So it was like called TCPA, a College Preparatory Academy. It's still on the same campus, but they mix you up, they split you up with the rest of the black students. The rest of the black students way on this side of the campus, like split off by the whole football stadium, and then we over here in some little portables.
Yeah.
But in that same token, it's like 10 black students max out of all of us back then. And we were like the representation. And because I did some of everything, I did stuff where all the white people was. I was in band. Like I wasn't on the football team. You know, I wasn't on the basketball team. I was everywhere else. Right. So, but it was like, I had a conversation with my principal one day, and I was like, it's not like we don't get the same resources. You know, like the black students, we not talking about the same stuff. He was like, he basically looked at me and was like, well, I said something about me being like one of the very few black kids in my class. He was like, well, what's their excuse? If you can do it, why can't they? And I'm like,
and you're not really,
you don't even see it.
Like,
yeah.
The whole thing, like, just because I was fortunate enough to get into this room,
right,
there's other reasons why these other black kids aren't in.
Right. It's extenuating factors. So it's like, it was always something like, sometimes like my parents gave me a safe place to be able to also be a student. But a lot of times being a student for a lot of people that I went to school with, that was just like one of the many hats that they had to wear. They also had to, right, like being a student wasn't as important as being a provider for your family. Yeah. Being a student wasn't as important as having to go watch your little sister, watch your little brother stay safe. Yeah. You feel me? So it's like, I definitely respect everything that you said, because it's like, it's almost like an eye opener on why we come here and why we're in this space to do everything that we want to do. Exactly. And one thing that I kind of want to go in is, as somebody who wants to go into education in a certain capacity, what do you see, how do you see yourself building this space, creating this space of belonging?
So then, you know, I'll express, I want to go into educational policy. And the reason why I chose educational policy, one, because I have an interest in law, but two, educators in the classroom can make a change, but you have to be at certain tables to make a change for a district or a county or even a state. And so I was like, I felt like it was my civic duty, like it was my godly purpose to make sure that I'm at that table so I can make a change that can be felt through, you know, the whole county. So I'll tell you a little bit about my county. Come from Montgomery County, Maryland. That is the largest county in the state of Maryland. And the specific area I was in, elementary school, middle school, and high school. It was the Down County Consortium. And so the Down County Consortium is urban schools. Like, you have, you know, majority minority students, compared to Up County. You know, they have the Quince Orchard and the Walt Whitman and the these are white high schools that I'm naming. But, you know, people from that area would know. But they got the resources and they got the allocated funds and they had the opportunities. And, you know, some may argue, oh, you know, they had the parent teacher association, the PTA.
Yeah,
PTA. So, you know, they might argue, oh, those parents, you know, they made sure that they thought about their kid. They funded their kid. But that you can't make that statement, because the kids down county, their students are their parents are minorities. They're coming from other countries, coming from English is their second language. You know, different privileges, or, you know, they aren't privileged at all.
Right.
And so that's kind of where my passion comes from. Like, I want to make sure that everybody gets the same and equal and equitable, especially equitable opportunity. I remember 11th grade was the first time that I heard that the kids Up County got a SAT prep course. And it was a course that was actually in their academic day, like from 7:45 to 2:30. That was actually a class that they could elect to take. I said, why don't we have that? Oh, well, we don't have the funding to go down there. Well, why don't y'all have the funding? Oh, we don't know.
Why isn't
Why
it
is
something that we all have?
What?
And that's something that I realized because similar to that experience, I had private schools in my area.
Yeah.
And one of my friends, we were talking one day about like taking the ACT. We didn't have to take the SAT where I'm from.
Yeah.
So we were talking about taking the ACT, and I'm talking about my score. And she told me her score taking it the first time. She was like, "Oh yeah, the first time I took it out of 29." I'm like, 36. Look, I'm like, oh, that's cool, you know? How? How? She was like, oh, we got She was like, we got ACT. They call it like ACT boot camp or something. She was like, we just do that at school. It's like once you get to a certain grade, they do that. And I'm like,
crazy.
Oh, that's different. Yeah. That's different. I'm like, yeah, we ain't got that. We go to recess for an extra 30 minutes if we got extra time. So there was something that was different. But I want to know, how was it coming out of that space and coming into Morehouse, like you said, that chip on your shoulder, and going into that, like talking about the struggles that you had to face to kind of find your purpose, find your why, and become acclimated. What's some things that you think can be implemented into the education program for higher education, for Black men in higher education, especially here at Morehouse?
So they can get acclimated
to find that why, to actually like figure it out, you know, instead of, for instance, I'm gonna tell you a little backstory. Like, growing up in a predominantly white area in school, it was always like my why in my head was like, you gotta be better than them. That's all I heard. You gotta be better than them. So it's like, I just had to prove everybody wrong. Like, you already look at me as less than. So I'm about to show you I'm not less than. I'm gonna show you that I can do it, and I can do it well. And once I got to Morehouse, it's like I still came here with that chip, but then they like, oh, you can do it, and you can do it well. And I was stuck in the part like, oh, they believe me. Yeah. I gotta prove nobody wrong. So what I do now? So like going into finding that why, like what those comfortable learning environments and everything else that's necessary to implement into that.
So I think it all boils down to two things. The first thing being leaning into your brothers, and then the second thing being, the educators that we already have here at Morehouse College. Hit on the educators. The educators we have here at Morehouse College, they believe in us. And I think for a lot of us, like you said, this is the first time in our life where it's not just one teacher or it's no teacher. It's almost every educator around you. It is every educator around you. They do believe you, and they do believe in you, and they want to push you. They want to see you do well. And then on the other side of that, leaning into your brothers, I know, like how you said, even just fellowshipping, when Aiden and Stephen were here, even just fellowshipping right there, it reminds me, oh yeah, I'm at Morehouse. I'm at an environment specifically made for Black males just like me. I can put that guard down. And I kind of want to talk about double consciousness real quick. W.E.B. Du Bois's thought of double consciousness being Black and American, that being a struggle that us as African Americans have to face. Here, we don't have to be Black and American. We can just, be American. But we can just be. Yeah. So yeah, in the sense of Morehouse, we can just be us, our authentic selves, our real selves. We don't have to worry about that chip on our shoulder. Oh, no one believes in me, so I got to go get it. No. When you talk to your brothers and you relate to these shared experiences, you realize that what's keeping you going or what's pushing you is you. It's only you. You have to keep yourself pushing. You have to keep yourself going. It's almost a fight against you. How can you be better than the person that you were yesterday?
Right.
And I think that's the motivation that we have to have in order to keep on going. It's you versus you. How can I be better than myself yesterday?
And which is so commendable, because I feel like that's all a part of maturity.
Yeah.
And being able to have that safe space as Black men to learn, like to have that safe space to make a mistake. And I'm still wrestling with me. Have that safe space to not know, that safe space to be hurt, like to, actually accept the pain that comes with it. It's so necessary. And I kind of want to go into like our future as educators. Like there's nothing that we can do about our past. There's nothing that we can do about yesterday. We could wish so many things were different and tell all of our stories on how our past hurt us, changed us, or built us. We still made it here by the grace of God. But that future, as being in those places, what can we do to create those safe spaces? Like something that you said about here at Morehouse, how they pour into us, our professors and educators. They think about us, they pour into us. And I see that as like an intentionality in education. So how can we as educators, as Morehouse men, as students, be intentional about the things that we do? Like, what's a better way to be intentional about creating those safe spaces?
Okay, so I'm going to say us as educators, I'm going to take that perspective and then how we can go and pour back into our community. Is that okay?
That's like that.
Okay, so I have a professor, her name is Dr. Moody, great professor. One of the first things that we learned in the classroom in our educational psychology book was being an intentional teacher and how that can literally change the psychology.
Shout out to Dr. Moody.
Shout out to
Dr. Moody.
It can literally change the psychology of a child. If you come from it doesn't even have to be a broken household, but if you come from a household where someone, it could be a sibling, your mom, your father, someone that is either someone that's above you in some form or fashion,
right?
If they're telling you, oh, you're dumb, you're stupid, you can't do this, you can't do that, you'll take on that psychology. But the beautiful thing that educators have or has is the student, for the amount of time that they have the student in a day.
Yeah.
They have them for 8 hours, and sometimes it's even longer than that if they do extracurricular activities. In those 8 hours, you can do so much. You can reverse that psychology and tell them, you're smart, you're growing, I see your academic growth, you're so intellectual, you're all these good things. And so us as educators, me and you, Jakari, well, what our duty is, and I really do feel like it's our duty because we had similar experiences where we've had this chip on our shoulder. Our duty is, once we get into those classrooms, we have to be those teachers that we never got. And we have to be those black male educators that we never saw. We have to remind our class, hey, bro, you're so smart. Hey, bro, I like how you did that problem.
Yeah.
You messed up right here, but this is what you did good. And let's try to focus on the good. And then whatever you did bad, this is what we can
like a positive reinforcement.
A positive, exactly. And that's what we need. That's what we need.
And I like what we were talking about earlier, the importance of having that black male educator. And because it's like you go to class and it's like you see everybody else.
Yeah.
But being able to be in that safe space and say, I see me. This is something that I can be. I'm not the stereotypical black man. Like you were talking about earlier, they give you all of these labels once you get into this place. Like I was in middle school, bro. And I had went from my predominantly black student population middle school to a predominantly white student population middle school. Was it a shell shock? I'm talking about my first day. We was at PE.
Yeah.
My first day at the school, and I kind of started biting the side of my tongue because I talk a lot. I knew I was a chatterbox, and I'm like, I got in trouble at my old school a lot for talking.
Yeah.
So I'm on the way to school. I'm like, how am I stop talking? So the PE teacher, she walked up to me and she was like, spit the gum out. I don't have any gum here. She was like, spit the gum out. Go spit the gum out. Go to the garbage cans. I walked to the garbage can. I looked at her and I looked at the garbage can. I looked at her and I looked at the garbage can. I'm like, all right. Like, you swallowed the gum. I'm like,
does it matter?
I'm like, I looked at her. She was like, what school did you come from? I said, Legion Park. Now, Legion Park was where the black kids was. Lisa Park is where they wasn't. Yeah. She was like, that makes sense.
That microaggression.
Because they let black kids shoot gum over there. Like, what? Is it a crime? Is it a crime to have gum?
Interrupt the education.
Yes, I'm like, okay. And I like ever since my whole time at that school, that's when I was actually noticing microaggressions. Like the racism at the other school, it was very prevalent. Like it was easily noticeable.
It was blatant.
Yeah, because it was like it's so many black kids. It's like you can't sugarcoat it. Yeah. There's no such thing as a microaggression. It's like you can't sugarcoat it. Most of us are black.
Yeah.
But I get to this other school and it's like, oh, microaggressions hurt worse than the blatant racism.
They do.
Then it's like growing up, it's like I started thinking less of myself in certain places. So it's like some things I overcompensated for because it's like, what am I gonna do in this place? Yeah. And now, like after we grow up, we grow into ourselves. We get off of that. We loosen the trauma of code switching.
Yeah.
And it's like, was I succeeding or was I surviving all of this time? And
more than times than not, it's survival.
It's survival. It's like I had to talk like this So you didn't look at me as another dumb nigga from this side or whatever.
Yeah.
Because that's what basically you told me I was.
Yeah.
If I would have talked like the people in my neighborhood, bro, I used to be in class and I had a teacher my freshman year of high school. She said, I'm not racist. I talk about all races.
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
What are you a bigot then? Like
Literally.
what are you?
Literally.
So you ask questions and you have those conversations. But I would hear the way the other black students, like I was one of the good ones.
Yeah.
They'd be like, I'm so glad you don't act like them.
And so I kind of want to take a pause on or pin that what you just said. Like, just because I talk a certain way, I walk a certain way, I dress a certain way, and present myself a certain way, doesn't mean I'm less intellectual than you are in any capacity.
And it doesn't mean that the kid on the other side, because he dressed different, talk different, walk different, it don't mean he different than me. It don't mean he different than you. And I used to tell him, we ride the same bus. We live in the same neighborhood. Like, these are the people that you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's my neighbor. Like, we grew up together. Like, literally 2 houses down the street, around the corner. We play football, basketball.
Schools, we got the same teachers.
Everything.
We're the same people.
So I'm like, we go to the same corner store, meet each other, talk about the same stuff. I know his mama know my mama. I ate by his house. It's like
basically cousins.
we basically kinfolk. So that's what I'm saying. But it's like, at least you don't act like them. I'm surviving. This is my only access to opportunity.
Yeah.
And us knowing all of that we had to do those things to become who we are.
Yeah.
Now that we have this opportunity, like you said, this is like literally a divine opportunity where we can go out into the neighborhoods, go out into the schools for our mentorship programs.
Yeah.
How do we go out and connect with those students? How do you think we can go out and connect to those students and let them know, like, this is real, like, this is us, this is who you can be?
Yeah.
Right.
So the beautiful thing that Morehouse offers, and I'll talk about a Morehouse experience and a personal experience.
Right.
Morehouse, we have Get on the Bus.
Right.
And with Get on the Bus, we go and we perform. A part of our new student orientation experience, and then we do empowerment sessions so that we can express to the youth. Yeah, I came in a suit and a tie. I came in this blue suit. I look nice.
Right.
But behind this suit, bro, I talk just like you.
Oh,
Like,
just like you.
We
locked
express
into it. We
ourselves
locked in.
Exactly. And I made sure I made that a vocal point when I went to go talk to them. Bro, like, take my Instagram. This is the music I bump. Like, we're going to throw some on the board. We're going to talk in slang in our African-American vernacular English. Like, we can do that. And I love that because, like you said, the youth need to see that. They need to see that. Because if I saw that, I would have been more comfortable in my own skin. And then on the other hand, personally, what I'm doing, I have a service organization called Service Over Everything. And one of the things that we're about to get up and do is go to Utopian Academy School of the Arts. Professor Miller, he owns the school, and I haven't asked him yet, but I'm going to ask him.
I hope he see this.
Yeah, I hope he sees this. We're going to go and do high school to college prep for the students. Because one, I didn't see representation of myself in a college realm, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't see someone that came from my high school go to college and come back to talk to us. So we're going to do how to apply for college, like what to look for, what for major area, city, things like that. We're going to do a financial aid crash course, like what is FAFSA? What's the difference between a grant and a scholarship? What are the benefits of both? Adjusting the college life, social adjustment, academic adjustment, things like that. Sorry, I'm kind of spinning a little. Things like that help the youth.
Right.
And they love seeing that. Like it, even if they don't verbally or physically express it, it happens up here, and they see themselves. It's almost like a mirror. They see themselves in the reflection of us. So it's very important that we continue to keep doing this work. So that we raise the next generation of Martin Luther Kings, Howard Washington Thurmans, Michael Lomaxes, Raphael Warnocks, like,
whoever you want to be.
Whoever you want to be, you can be.
It's power.
We just gonna, we're gonna surround a village around you. We're gonna pour into you, and you're gonna grow.
That's beautiful. I think with all of this being that this is the first part of the future of belonging.
Yeah.
And especially in education, I think we tapped in with intentionality, and a lot of what we said is alluding to intentionality. And I believe that intentionality inspires authenticity.
It does.
And authenticity is required in every form of leadership. So when we're curating this time, these spaces for the next generation of leadership, we're inspiring authenticity. Martin Luther King became Martin Luther King because of who he was. Yeah. Howard Thurman became Howard Thurman because of who he was. Mays became Mays because of who he was. Equan Caleb James is becoming Equan Caleb James because of who he is. And that's the beauty of belonging. That's how we create these safe spaces for belonging. So Caleb, I want to officially say thank you.
Of course.
I respect you for everything that you do. This is part 1 of Future of Belonging in Education with Torch Talks. Once again, I'm your host, Jakari C. Patterson, a junior education studies major, and this is
Equan Caleb James. I'm a sophomore educational studies major with a minor in Chinese studies on the pre-law track from Service from Maryland.
And guess what? Class dismissed.